studios of 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, Big X Sports Radio, WXVW. Sorry, got a little bit late start this morning. We're having some technical difficulties. Shout out to the tech man with all of the juice, Dave, for getting us together, getting us online. But we are up and rolling here this morning. Super, super excited to be here on this rainy Saturday morning, June 27, 2026. We have so much to get into, so much to talk about, so many things happening in the world of sports. Got the NBA draft. We have, University of Louisville, Pat Kelsey coming out, meeting with the media earlier this week. We're going to chat about that. We have a couple of big trades in the NBA. We know where Michael Brown is headed. We know where Ryan Conwell is headed. A couple of other Cardinals that are going to be playing in NBA Summer League, looking to try to make a fall camp and get a fall camp invite. So we have a ton of things to get into and a ton of things to talk about this morning, and I want to discuss it all. But of course, I do have to talk about something that happened and news that came across the wire before we get started on anything else. I know anybody who is probably up listening to this quality sports broadcast this morning has heard the news of the sad news of the passing of Kenny Klein, the longtime SID for the University of Louisville, and just a constant face in the Louisville sports department. Sports information directors normally aren't very well known, in the college circles. Like most universities, I don't think really have intimate knowledge or intimate relationships with their sports information directors. But Kenny Klein was one of those guys that definitely transcended his position and transcended any certain role within the city of Louisville. He was definitely and has been a longtime face of the University of Louisville. So I just wanted to just send my thoughts and prayers and condolences to Kenny and his family, and just kind of just say that I have for a long time appreciated Kenny Klein for everything that he's done for myself, everything that he's done for Main Event Sports and Wake Up 502. We have been in this game and in this business for a long time. We have, contrary to some's thoughts, we have been in this business for over 20 years. And Kenny Klein was a guy that just, regardless of who you were, he made everybody feel like they were important. Whether it was your first day on the job, and you're a short timer, or you're the long-standing face of sports media, or just in general, he always treated everybody the same. There were no big eyes and little U's with Kenny Klein, and that was the magic that made him the man that he was. Is that he treated everybody the same, and he treated everybody with respect and like they were, your best friend in the world, with a smile and a handshake and anything that he could do to help. He was always there. And for a guy that had done as much as him, and a guy who had been around as long as him, a lot of times people, especially when they are established, have a tendency to kind of look over or treat people a certain way because you're established, and I'm established, you're not, and I just don't have time for you. And Kenny was never like that. He was always just very friendly and very genuine, and I just wanted to give my shout out to him, and just appreciation for everything that he did, helping myself, Haven Harrington, Jay Has, and all the rest of us on this journey with the University of Louisville, and just forever thankful and forever just appreciative of that. So just wanted to say that, and just say thank you, Kenny, for everything that you've done, and you will not be forgotten. 100%. You hold a very special place with myself and with the rest of us here with the Wake Up 502 and Main Event Sports family. So I just wanted to say that, one of the most amazing things that I always remembered, even when I was young, was just the fact that, I thought it was pretty cool that the University of Louisville was always the face of the Final Four. And what I mean by that is, U of L Sports Information Department has been responsible for, handling the stats and all of that stuff at the Final Four for, 30, I don't know how many years, 30 plus years. And Kenny Klein was right there, doing what he does best in coordination of, sports and mainly, of course, basketball being the main thing here. And the fact that he did that at the Final Four every year and, University of Louisville was the face of that and Kenny was a part of that, just spoke to how many people that he impacted. And we've seen that outpouring of affection. So that was, even before I knew him by name, I always knew that University of Louisville did the stats at the Final Four, and I always just thought that was really cool because Louisville, even when Louisville wasn't there, Louisville was still there. And I think that having a guy like Kenny as a part of that helps you to be able to do that. When you're trustworthy and when you're a guy that has a certain way about handling things and a certain way of doing things, it just puts everybody at ease. And Kenny definitely was that. So just again, my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody. And I know that, people spent a lot of time listening to radio, discussing Kenny and his greatness, which kind of just speaks to who he was. So I'm not going to knock people over the head with it, but I did want to just take that time in that moment to say that. So just Kenny, shout out to you, Godspeed, and good luck on the other side. I'll be seeing you there, hopefully, someday. But now, okay, I got that out of the way. I got all the teary stuff out of the way. Now it's time to get in to what we do here. Wake Up 502. Like I said, so much happening, so much going on, so much to discuss. I've been looking forward. I came into the week looking forward to the NBA draft. There have been so much conversation, so much talk about Michael Brown Jr. I had asked people and I wondered what people thought about Michael. Were they invested in it? Were they excited about it? Was it a big deal? And that's kind of what I want to know this morning. Definitely is going to be some NBA conversation because of the draft that just happened Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. You guys know that I am a huge draft guy. That's something that I love. It's something that I follow intimately. So, that's just always near and dear to my heart. And, there have been a lot of conversation about Michael Brown Jr. Just, the first or the highest drafted Louisville Cardinal since 1990. Like, that is just huge. That is huge. That is huge for the University of Louisville. It's huge for a program with the history of the University of Louisville, and the fact that Michael became the highest drafted player since what was it? The first top 10 player since Felton Spencer, 1990. So like Michael is a Cardinal that will go into the record books and be remembered forever for a crazy long time. So for a guy that has meant as much of the program in terms of what he accomplished to also be so polarizing is just crazy to me. And I hate it. I hate it that it's that way. I hate that, people look at Michael that way. And the fact that it wasn't even him that has caused such angst and such polarization. Yes, I know it's him because he ultimately did not play in the NCAA tournament, and I know that frustrated so many people, but the kid is such a good kid, and he's always done the right things, and he's always cared, and he's always carried himself in a team-first mentality. And it's just unfortunate that, the simple fact that, his team, quote unquote, his people, his people that make decisions behind, behind him, made the decision that they wanted to protect him. They wanted to make sure that he was good to go for his next career, and wanted to make sure that he was at 100% before he got out on the basketball court. And, because of that, decided that it would be better for him not to play in the NCAA tournament. Just completely soured so many people from a young man that one of the best I've ever covered for who he was. Like, I've seen a lot of players come through here, and I've seen a lot of players that Louisville fans have loved that were jerks and were, didn't have the best attitudes and didn't carry themselves the best way. Michael never was that. Michael always put a smile on people's faces. Michael always was very professional and very thoughtful and very seemingly honest. Like, when he was on the sidelines and he was not playing in games, I would watch him, and he was always into the game, always looked like he wanted to be out there, always looked like he was invested. There have been players and there have been guys that have come through here that did not care, and guys that were like, I can't wait to get up out of here. I can't wait to get on to what's next, rolling their eyes, slouching in their seat, just not having the body language and the attitude that you would want for a guy that you want to feel like cares about the University of Louisville as much as you do. Michael never did that. Michael always cared. There was never one moment when I felt like that young man did not care. And because of that, I just hate the fact that so many people have just been so frustrated and look at him and hear his name and are annoyed or frustrated or are angry, like, because he does not deserve that. He does not deserve that. I can't speak to his dad. I can't speak to what his dad did, and was he an overbearing parent, and does he react and argue with fans too much? Does he spend too much of his time fighting and yelling at, the sky? Yes, he does. I don't disagree with that, but that young man doesn't have anything to do with that. That young man, all he's wanted to do is go out there, make people proud, and do what he loves, play basketball. And I feel like he's done that to the best of his abilities. No, he didn't fight against his dad and his agents and whoever else were advising him. No, he's trying to make everybody happy and do what's best for everybody, including himself. And I think that's all he did. And in his position, with everything on the line, I don't blame him because the ultimate goal was making it to the NBA. The ultimate goal was getting drafted as highly as possible and, securing your future and, just having the opportunity to go do something great at the next level. And I can't disagree with that. And this, as I said, if this was my son and he was in the same place and position, I can't say that I would not do the same dependent upon the advice that I received. So, I just say all that to say, I just hope that as time goes along, everything will soften with Michael. I hope he stays connected with the university. I don't want another Purvis Ellison situation. I say all that to say I don't want another Purvis Ellison situation. I don't want one of the favorite Cardinals and a Cardinal that has done so much for the University of Louisville on the court and helped raise the profile of the university to not be appreciated and loved by its fans. So I will say that, man. I hope that we can find a way to move on from that and that Michael does not lose his connection with the University of Louisville, because one thing you'll learn, especially about the professional business, especially going somewhere like the Brooklyn Nets, that culture and that, the fans at that level, it's a business, and that they'll love you when you're doing well, and they will be the quickest to, throw you under a bus when things aren't going well. And the one thing that you can always do is fall back on your university that you played at and that loved you, and you can make a home here forever and you can have those connections forever. So I just hope that he grows that and doesn't throw that away. And I don't think he will. I think that he appreciates and loves the University of Louisville. His mentor is Donovan Mitchell, who is one of the faces of how you stay connected with your university and support your university, even though you move on to success at the next level. So you would think with the mentorship that Donovan Mitchell is going to provide, that Michael will continue to stay connected as well. Or at least I hope that he does. And I will say that Junior is definitely going to have to make some hard choices and make sure that guys like his dad just kind of fade into the background where they should be. Dad, you did your job. You got your son there. You got, you prepared him. You trained him. You did everything you needed to. You did an excellent job. But now it's, now that job is done, you need to just kind of ease up and just move into the background and just let your son shine, like that. I feel like at that point, that's what needs to happen. But I do want to know. I want to know, are you guys going to follow Michael with the Brooklyn Nets? Are you going to, I don't know if you're going to get the NBA ticket to watch Nets games, but I know I will. I will definitely be watching those Nets games. I ain't going to be watching on the NBA ticket. Y'all know I do the Fire Stick. So I'll pull them up on the old Fire Stick and watch some Brooklyn Nets games. I will put them in the rotation. But I want to know, are you guys going to follow him, or are you going to continue to watch what he does? I know a lot of the younger Cardinal fans, I know they love Michael. I know we're going to see some Michael Brown Jr. Nets jerseys in the crowd, and I will love that. And, the University of Louisville does not have a lot of representation in the NBA. So, anytime we can have one of those guys, we need to prop those guys up. We need to see those jerseys in the crowd because, young players, young prospective athletes, prospects, they see that. And, Pat Kelsey, I'm telling y'all, Pat Kelsey is building something special here. And I just hope that we appreciate what we are seeing right now, because Pat Kelsey put Chucky Hepburn into the NBA in year one, and Chucky Hepburn just announced he's going to be signing a new deal with the Toronto Raptors to come back on a two-way deal. He's playing, Chucky it's very interesting that that happened. The Toronto Raptors are a playoff team. They're a team that, gave the Cleveland Cavaliers everything they wanted in a 7-game series in the first round this past year. They're a very good team. And the fact that the Raptors wanted, to bring Chucky back on a team that's that good lets you know exactly what they believe and what they think of Chucky Hepburn. They don't want to let Chucky go because Chucky could go to another franchise and get an opportunity to probably play a lot more and to be have a full-time deal rather than that two-way contract. I really and truly believe. But I think Chucky loves the culture with the Toronto Raptors. I'm sure he probably enjoys being on a team that's competitive as well. And I think he sees an opportunity to play a little bit more and start to kind of get some of those reserve minutes. So we'll continue to watch Chucky. But, Coach Kelsey got Chucky Hepburn to the next level. This year, Kelsey brings in a superstar, Michael Brown Jr., a guy who had lottery potential. Louisville never had a one and done before. He was able to get Michael here. He was able to help Michael get drafted in the lottery, help Michael showcase his talents, did not hurt his draft stock in the least, and get that done. That's huge, right? And not only did he get Michael Brown drafted, he got, brought Ryan Conwell, who had been a guy who has been at a lot of different places and a lot of different schools, but ultimately Ryan Conwell, after stints with Indiana State, after stints with Xavier, comes to the University of Louisville, a guy who was thought if Ryan Conwell gets a cup of coffee in the NBA, more than likely it's going to be as an undrafted free agent. He took Ryan Conwell from a guy who was going to be an afterthought in the NBA and turned Ryan Conwell into a guy who was an early second round selection. And for seniors, you talk about seniors getting drafted. Understand this is that not only was Ryan Conwell the the 37th pick of the draft in early in the second round of the draft, he was only the, let's count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He was the 6th senior taken. Oh, excuse me. 5, 6, 7. Ninth, excuse me, 10th senior taken. Sorry, 10th senior taken. So, seniors in the NBA draft. Sorry, I didn't count the guys in the second round. I only counted the first round. But he was the 10th senior overall taken. So he was one of the top 10 seniors in the class of 2026 in terms of draftable seniors. So a guy who finished as one of the 10 best seniors, or was recognized as one of the 10 best seniors. So you had Michael Brown Jr., who was the 6th best freshman, and Ryan Conwell, who was the 10th best senior. Both guys get drafted in the NBA draft. Both of those guys. So, Pat Kelsey basically sent a beacon to young players and prospective transfers saying, you know what, if you want to make your NBA dreams come true, the University of Louisville is the place to do that. And the fact that, Kelsey was able to show that either way, either opportunity, either path that you want to go down, whether you're coming straight out of high school or you're coming here from another university looking to make your NBA dreams come true, Pat Kelsey showed that he could get that done. And I think that the success that those young guys have had is directly related to how successful Louisville was, both in the recruiting side, in terms of bringing in Obinna Ekezie Jr., in terms of bringing over Boyang Zhang, in terms of bringing in Isaac Ellis from the high school ranks. And I think that also played a part into bringing in Floyd Badunga and Jackson Shellstad, Carter Knox, and the rest of these guys. I feel like one of the reasons that Louisville is so talented and brought in such a talented group of guys is because of the success that Pat Kelsey had and has had over his first 2 years with helping these guys reach the heights that they have reached. First year didn't have a ton of talent, but they were super, super successful, and you were able to produce a NBA draft pick in year one. Then you compound on that. You're a little bit more talented in year two. And you turn that into 2 NBA draft picks and guys that were super successful and had another successful year. And I think the fact that Pat Kelsey is having so much success is directly feeding into the talent that Louisville has this year. And I am so, so, so excited to see what he does this upcoming year, with more talent injected into the university. I am just so excited to see what happens next. So, just shout out to Coach Kelsey. Shout out to and congratulations to Michael Brown Jr. Shout out and congratulations to Ryan Conwell, drafted, like I said, 37th overall by the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then traded to the Miami Heat, which I think is a wonderful situation for him. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the other 2 Cardinals that got drafted as well, or excuse me, that got selected on, I believe, what they call Exhibit 10 contracts, which of course are Javon Hadley, who also got picked up by the Miami Heat. So you're going to have 2 Cardinals on the 2 Cardinals from last year as part of the Miami Heat Summer League team, and Ryan Conwell and Javon Hadley. And you're also going to have Trey White, who of course was here under Kenny Payne. Trey White is going to be a part of the Miami Heat Summer League team as well. So if you like your former Cardinals, definitely tune in to the Summer League. Vegas Summer League, I believe, starts July 9th out in Las Vegas. There will be a couple of precursors to that. I believe they call it the Rocky Mountain Review in Utah That will begin, I believe, next weekend, July 4th weekend. That will be going on in Utah. I don't believe that any of the Louisville-based players will be at that event, but Michael Brown Jr. will be at the I believe they call it the California Showcase is what it's called in Sacramento, California. I believe that Darius Acuff will be facing off against Michael Brown Jr. and the Nets. Darius Acuff, of course, being drafted by the Sacramento Kings. I believe Kings Nets will kick off your summer league coverage. So you'll get to see Darius Acuff and Michael Brown Jr. in mano-a-mano matchup to start your 4th of July. So how cool is that? So even before we get to the Vegas Summer League, which starts, the following week after 4th of July weekend, we're going to get to see Darius Acuff versus Michael Brown Jr. next weekend. So just get ready for that. I love Summer League action. I always have. I always watch it. It's like watching, college all-star games, but, guys are playing for their lives. So it's very, very good basketball. So I absolutely love that. So I'll be watching that. Make sure you stay tuned in. Like I said, Isaac McNeely also got got picked up and signed a contract with the Atlanta Hawks. They're looking to add some shooting. So I think that these Pat Kelsey guys, several of these guys are going to have an opportunity to make a roster. Of course, Michael Brown Jr. is going to make that roster, I think, without a doubt. Ryan Conwell, the fact that the Miami Heat traded up to get that selection, where they picked him at, the fact that they have a huge need in the backcourt for shooters as well as playmakers. I think that Ryan Conwell's for sure going to make that roster with Miami. But I think the other two guys as well, I think that Javon Hadley as well as Isaac McNeely are going to have opportunities to make that roster. It's definitely going to come down to how these guys perform in both Summer League. For Hadley and McNeely, they're going to have to do well in Summer League, and then B, they're going to have to get that fall camp invite to see if they can either hold on to get one of those end of the bench roster spots or, maybe make a practice squad. We will have to see. But I think that all these guys are grizzled college veterans that have played a lot of basketball, and I really feel like Pat Kelsey and the Louisville coaching staff helped get these guys and prepare these guys as best as they could for their NBA journey. So we'll be watching them. I'll be super, super excited to see what happens with those guys. Please let me know, 502-414-1450. That is the Game Day Men's Health text line. I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Michael Brown Jr.? Are you going to follow the Nets? Are you excited for him? Are you going to stay connected with Michael? Are you as proud as you should be, in my personal opinion, as you should be for having a Louisville Cardinal drafted that high and being the new face of Louisville in the NBA? Are you going to continue to follow him? What do you think about everything that happened? And then, thoughts on the other guys as well. Do you like the fit in Miami? We're going to talk about those trades on the other side. I definitely want to get into that. We may hear from Romy Bean this morning, Roman Kelly. Haven't had him on in a few weeks, but with all the NBA stuff going on, I want to hear Roman's thoughts. So I'm hoping that we get a call in from him this morning. But I want to hear from you as well. 502-384-1450. That is Call Your Law Office hotline if you want to give me a call. And once again, 502-414-1450. That is the Game Day Men's Health text line. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take our first break. And then when we come back on the other side, much, much more to get into. This is Wake Up 502. Raashaan Myers taking care of you this morning. 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. And we'll be back on the Big X. Raashaan Myers taking care of you this morning. A little bit of Bruno Mars coming back from the break. Just trying to brighten up a rainy, dreary Saturday morning here and get your weekend started right. Y'all know how we do. That's what we do. 502-414-1450. That is the Game Day Men's Health text line. Taking your texts, taking your thoughts, talking a little Michael Brown Jr., talking a little Ryan Conwell, a little NBA draft to get you going this morning. Super excited. I see a couple of early texts coming in. And of course, if you're on X, if you're on YouTube, you're on Facebook, whether it be on my X channel at Raashaan, that's Raashaan. Of course, you can give me a follow there, or if you're checking it out on any of our YouTube channels, whether it be Main Event Sports on YouTube, if you're checking us out there, the Big X Sports Radio on YouTube, you can check us out there as well as my personal YouTube channel, Raashaan Myers. So, we got plenty of ways for you to get involved if you're checking us out on Facebook at Raashaan Myers Facebook page as well. We're taking all your messages there. And I see a bunch of messages coming through this morning. Shout out to Q, giving us some thoughts on Michael Brown Jr. This morning on X. Q says, no hate for Michael, but I hope we never get another athlete like that. They're being paid well, and you want your best players on the court. Yeah, look, first of all, Q, I totally agree. Michael Brown Jr. was an extreme example, right? I feel like it was just there was a lot of players. Darius Acuff was that type of player. Kingston Flemings was that type of player. AJ Diamante was that type of player that was just an elite prospect. And all those guys played plenty of games. It just felt like, especially when you're dealing with a back injury can have a tendency to linger. And so I understand why they were so cautious with it, because anytime you're dealing with when it's, one of those abductors or abductor injuries like Taekwon Dean had several years ago, or you're dealing with a back, those types of issues, we saw that rob Michael Porter Jr. of basically his whole rookie season when he got drafted by the Denver Nuggets. And there was, it took Michael Porter Jr. from a top 5 projected pick to a second round pick when he was the number 1 player coming out of high school. So, you have to be very, very careful with back injuries. So I understand the level of caution. And even though Michael had been cleared, I can understand them, if he's saying that, well, it's still not right, you don't want to rush that guy back. Case in point, the fact that, Jaden Quaintance, and I have my issues with Mark Pope that go well beyond, the fact that he's the coach at Kentucky. I personally feel like Mark Pope is a guy who pushes his players to get out there and to play, regardless of whether they're 100% healthy or not. After what I found out about the Ali Khalifa situation with him at BYU, where basically they wheeled Khalifa out there every game knowing that he needed knee surgery, and, played him a whole season on a bad knee that he had to have surgery on, basically right after the season was over. And then, how Pope handled the Jaden Quaintance situation, the fact that JQ tears his knee up last February, and it seemed like there was a rush to get JQ back on the court. So much so that they were trying to push his ability to return super early. And, coming back from what Quaintance was coming back from, it just seemed like that timetable was unrealistic, and ultimately pushed him to come back, in my personal opinion, too early. JQ ends up only playing, 5 or 6 games for Kentucky before he has to shut it back down because of the knee. And now we're hearing that Jaden Quaintance is going to have another surgery. Let me see if you heard this before. An athlete that has to have knee surgery immediately after a Kentucky season where where Mark Pope was the coach, pushing him out there to play. And now Jaden Quaintance His whole rookie season may be in jeopardy because his knee was not ready and he's going to have another surgery to clean up issues with that knee. And I just don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like coaches that put the team before a player's health. At the end of the day, in my personal opinion, I just don't think that's right. And whether it's Jayden Quaintance, who plays for the team up the road that plays for UK, I don't want to see any athlete get hurt, and I don't want to see the opportunity for very special players and young men to have their careers cut short because you have a greedy coach out there that doesn't care about anything but his program. And I'm not saying that Mark Pope is an evil dude. I'm not saying that Mark Pope is doing anything on purpose, but I think that sometimes coaches get so caught up in what's best for their program that they can push a little bit too much on players that want to do everything they can for the team and put their health second. And that's why I'm okay, because you can say that a doctor has you cleared and you can still not feel right. And with a back, I've had back problems and I've had back issues. And just because you've been cleared, if you aren't right. And if Michael knew that he was not right, and I would think that he was honest with his father, honest with his trainers, honest with everybody to say that that back just didn't feel right and maybe I need to just take it a little bit slow. And even once Michael's feeling better, they want to give it a little extra time. I can't. You can be frustrated, you can be angry, you can be upset, you can wish that he was there, but just because a doctor clears you, when you're dealing with soft tissue issues like that, especially with the back, you got to be careful, y'all. And I know that we want that immediate gratification of having him out there playing and having our jersey on and being able to represent the University of Louisville. But that young man has a very bright future ahead of him, and you just have to take that into consideration. So I wish nothing but the best for Michael on that. But I definitely understand you want your best players on the court. And I do think that if you're out there and you're ready to play, you should get out there and play. When it's a back issue, I can understand where you can be cleared and still not be right. Like, I think both things can be true. And while that's frustrating to hear, I definitely understand it. 502-414-1450. That is the Game Day Men's Health text line. We are taking your thoughts. We are taking your calls. We are taking your texts. Of course, if you want to get in there on the Game Day Men's Health text line, we do have a texter checking in with it this morning. Texter, let's see, ending in 7255. I feel like I know who that is. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, I was going to say, I don't know if your text came through, but yes, it came through. Says Rock. It cracks me up. Always call me by the nickname on my show. Just using my nickname out there. Unknown person. First of all, great to hear you. Made it to the studio under such weather conditions. Yes, sir, I did make it. Thank you. However, didn't Malik Williams have a similar injury as Michael? Malik definitely had some kind of, it may have been back. Yes, I feel like it may have been a back issue. I know it was some sort of issue along those lines, a back soft tissue type injury. And yes, Malik definitely did come back. I think that the difference between Malik Williams' situation and Michael's situation is just the simple fact that Malik Williams was a guy who was going to be a second round to undrafted player and was not considered a lottery type guy, wasn't even considered a first round guy. And I think because Malik knew that he was going to have to kind of get it out the mud, he was going to have to go get a summer league invite, play well in summer league, and then get that opportunity, which he, did. He was able to go out there, get, he's been on a couple NBA contracts, played some, had spent some time with the Milwaukee Bucks as well as the Miami Heat. He was able to kind of, Toronto Raptors. He got that done. He played for the Heat. He played for the Raptors. I believe he played with the Bucks for a little bit as well. So he was able to turn that around So I definitely congratulate him for it. But I mean, to be honest with you, and that's no disrespect, I just feel like Michael had more to lose. And because it was such a tenuous situation with so many elite level point guard prospects that were playing as well around him, that he was jockeying for position for, when you're worrying about what Keaton Wagler's doing and what Kingston Flemings is doing and what Darius Acuff is doing, and there's so many guys right there with you at your same position, and you're really trying to protect your draft stock. I mean, the kid went out there and put up 45 points, hit 10 threes against the Wolfpack NC State. Like, he showed big time. He had great flashes, was big time against Kentucky. He played, like, it's not like he didn't play any games. Louisville only played, 34 games, 33 games overall. I think Louisville played 33 games this past season. Michael played in 21 of them. 21 of the 33 games. It wasn't a Kyrie Irving situation where Kyrie only played in 12 games at Duke. Yes, I understand that Kyrie played in the NCAA tournament. That makes the difference, is that Kyrie played in the tournament, Michael did not. But my point being is that he played in 65% of Louisville's games this past season, maybe 70% of Louisville's games this past season. So it's not like he didn't play at all. It's just unfortunate that back was still giving him issues once the NCAA tournament came around. But it felt like the young man was definitely trying to get back and get out there. So I just don't hold any ill feelings towards him. I think that we'll have to just wait and see what happens next with him. But I will definitely be watching it, and I will be cheering him on. Q back on X also says, with that said about wanting to have his players out there, he said, with that said, I will follow Michael's success and consider him a Cardinal for life. And I'm glad to hear that. And I think that most Louisville fans feel that way. When you get on social media, when you get on the radio, that is definitely the vocal minority. And not even everybody, universally is upset with Michael and his family. You just have a few individuals that are very loud, that voice their displeasure and their issues with Michael Brown. I don't think that their thoughts reflect the thoughts of the fan base. I do think there is probably a higher percentage than I would like of fans that are frustrated with Michael, but I definitely don't think that that's the way most of the fan base feels. I think that Michael is going to be appreciated. He's going to be loved, and I think that it's going to be a situation where the further he's gone from the University of Louisville, the more that people are going to wrap their arms back around Michael, because I do think he's going to be extremely successful. I know that my boy Trevor Kelsey, his opinion, he doesn't think that Michael's going to be very good in the NBA. He thinks that Michael is going to be an average player that maybe can score a bunch of points for a bad team, but he feels like he's nothing more than a role player on a good team. I respectfully disagree with that. I think that Michael is going to be very good in the NBA. I feel like Michael is going to be elite at the next level. I think he has all the tools. I hate that he got drafted by the Brooklyn Nets, because that's just been a franchise that has just been a bad franchise for a long time. They have been a franchise that, since Jason Kidd left, have just not been good. And they've just, regardless of what they've done and regardless of what they've tried, they've just not been able to get it taken care of. Now, that being said, there is a lot of young talent on that Brooklyn Nets roster, and there also are some very good players already there. They had a huge draft last year. They graded out well with their draft last year. They brought in Julius Randle, who is an established star in the NBA. They have Michael Porter Jr., who's one of the better players on the wing and one of the best shooters in the NBA. They have some guys there that can play. They have Day'Ron Sharpe, who's a nice young player as well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. I would have loved for Michael. The two, like I said last week, y'all, the two places that I did not want to see Michael were the two places that were picking right where Michael was going to go. Number 6 to the Nets and number 7 to the Kings. Just two franchises that just can't seem to get out of their own way. But I will say I like the fit with the Nets better than I like the fit with the Kings. Yeah, I know that the Kings have Domantas Sabonis. I know that they have DeMar DeRozan, two guys that are actually on the block for them. But I feel like the young core with the Nets, they at least have some upward mobility because you have young players that are looking to get better. So we will see what's going to happen with that. You are listening to Wake Up 502. Raashaan Myers taking care of you this morning, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. Hour number 2 coming your way, and we'll be back on the Big X. And welcome back in. Welcome back in. Hour number 2, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, Big X Sports Radio. It is going down here on a rainy Saturday morning here in the Ville. 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. And I tell you what, one of our texters asked, did you all ride a boat to get to the radio station today? Possibly, but that's all right. I gotta make it in here for the people. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel personally responsible to get all of the sports fans here in Louisville get their weekend started off right. Like that is my job. That was the lot I wanted in life, was to be everybody's kind of gateway to your sports weekend. So gotta be here for the people, even if I have to rowboat my way in. And with that being said, we're gonna go right over to the Call Your Law Office hotline. We got a man, the myth, the legend. We got Jay Haas on the line this morning. Jay, good morning, brother. How are you doing?
How you doing, Raashaan Myers?
Man, I'm doing well, man. It's a little rainy outside today, Jay.
A little rainy. Like a baby nigga's bottle.
Yeah. Man, it's coming down. I'm glad to hear from you, though.
Yeah, man, that's completely weather forecast, man. That's what it does, Mother Nature. Yeah, man, how you doing as well?
Man, I'm doing well. You know, talking a little bit about the NBA draft, talking about Michael Brown Jr., Ryan Conwell getting selected. 2 Louisville Cardinals going into draft for the first time in over 15 years. Michael Brown Jr., the highest draft pick for the University of Louisville since 1990. It was a banner year. Coach Kelsey is making big moves, man. Like, there's a lot of Louisville first-time stuff going on, Jay, in his first 2 years. So I thought that the draft was huge, and then, of course, I gave my thoughts and condolences to Kenny Klein and his family after the tough news of his passing. So, got a few things going on this morning. But what you got going? What you got for me this morning?
I will say this, Raashaan, in the midst that my condolences go out to Kenny Klein's family, friends and colleagues. That's first live from Jerry Hazard, from WLOU. My prayers go out to the family and his colleagues. And Sean, I'm sitting next to you, drive night, man. How could I not hear anything? You got mad at me when I said Michael Brown Jr. for 6'6".
Yeah, I can't lie, Jay. I did not want to see, and I shared it with the people as well. The places that I did not really want to see Michael Brown Jr. were the Nets and the Kings. So yeah, it happened. Once Keaton Wagler went 5th to the Clippers, I had a feeling that it was going to be Michael at number 6. I was just hoping that they went in another direction. But, yeah, it was what it was, Jay.
Yeah, man, it is what it is. Young man, I have no guilt over that young man already, departed from for Louisville. It is what it is. Hope him good luck in his endeavors in the NBA, and I think he'll be very well. Sean, there's just a lot going on, of course, man. You got the soccer going on. You got the college football just around the corner. So much to talk about. I'm excited about the next couple of months, and supposed to have a big fish fry today, but we don't know because we think we get rained out.
I know, man, the infamous fish fry. Your family is supposed to be doing their thing today, but I don't know with all this rain, Jay, out there, but the fish fry might get rained out, sadly.
Yeah, I know. I know, you know what you said, the thing about Coach Kelsey, the things that he's doing. I'm excited about this new 26-27 college basketball team. I'm excited about it, man. I don't know how excited you are, but I'm excited though now.
Oh yeah, no, Coach Kelsey, he met with the media on Monday and was, talking about kind of his initial impressions of the team, some of his thoughts on, some of the players, and a couple of things that stood out to me, Jay. He said that Jackson Shelstad, the point guard who's coming over from Oregon, he said he's one of the fastest players, quickest players he's ever played, coached with, and said he's definitely the fastest player he's had at point guard since he's been the coach at Louisville. that gets me excited, Jay. He says that, Jackson, his quickness, he gets by his man, gets into the lane, can make things happen. I think that kid right there, of all the players that Coach Kelsey has coming in, I think the guy who's going to surprise Louisville fans the most is going to be just how good Jackson Shellstad is.
Raashaan, I'm excited. Little kid, Isaac, man, he's a real bully, man. He might be the crowd's favorite, man. He's been in almost 10 so far from practice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it was interesting. There was a couple of, they're already doing the mock drafts for 2027. And, Louisville has a lot of talent. And I wanted to see where, what it was looking like for Louisville next year, to see who people are talking about early. Of course, it's way too early to, figure out where guys are going to go and who's going to do what. But I did find it interesting that Obinna Ikezi Jr. was the highest rated Cardinal. They had him going 34th as the highest ranked Cardinal, going in next year's class with who was it? With Flory Badunga going a little bit later on. So those two guys were the highest rated, both going kind of early, mid-second round. It looks like NBADraft.net has Flory Badunga going 41st right now in their draft. Somewhere early second round. Who do you like as far as who you think is going to make that NBA jump for next year, Jay?
I'm good, man. I think that 7-footer, man, that Franklin from Madonna American.
Yeah.
He's going to have to go. Hey, he's tough, Raashaan. He's not even starting.
Yeah.
He's coming off the bench.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Japanese kid, and Raashaan, look at how talented they're going to be around that ball, man. God.
Yeah. I mean, Louisville, two of their best draft prospects, and I agree with you. I think that Obinna Ikezi Jr. and Boyang Zhang as well. Anytime you can find a kid that's 6'9", and Kelsey called him a guard. Kelsey said that Boyang is a guard. He's got a quick release. He's a knockdown shooter. So you're talking about a 6'9" guard with a quick release and is known as a knockdown shooter. You would think that that's a big time prospect.
Raashaan, he's 6'9", 7 feet, playing point guard. Raashaan, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited, Jay. Like that, like you said, there's a lot to look forward to. I think that once we get to the season, that some of these guys because Pat Kelsey has shown he can get his team ready to play. Guys are better when they come out of that Louisville program from when they go in. So I am excited to see what's going to happen next.
Raashaan, who's going to be your favorite player, man? Because you got kind of fun. You got some certain picks.
I am the guy that I feel like I'll say it like this: Jackson Shellstad is going to probably be my favorite player.
Wow.
But I love the big man game, so Flory Badunga is probably going to be the guy that I get the most enjoyment out of. I think Flory's the most aggressive, tenacious big man that Louisville's had on campus since Montrezl Harrell. Like, Flory's going to bring that Montrezl energy, right? Like, he's going to try to dunk everything. He's going to dunk on you. He's going to tell you about it, which I know you love. And I just think he's going to be that nasty face of the program. Louisville hasn't had a nasty big man like that yet, Jay, under Coach Kelsey. So having just kind of that nasty guy to really kind of set the tone, and, for a guy like Obinna Ikezi to watch Flory Badunga, how he plays is going to make Obinna be a better player. Does that make sense?
So in closing remarks, Raashaan, I'm going to give you a two-parted question. Everybody's not talking about Knox as one, and the other kid is playing at what's it, the 3 or the 4, the other kid from Iowa?
Yeah, Alpha Harris. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Explaining that on the remarks about these two athletes.
Yeah, I mean, Carter Knox, to me, I think is maybe underappreciated. I don't think people really understand how skilled he is offensively. He's a kid that's a knockdown mid-range jump shooter, can create his own shot from the perimeter, is a tenacious defender. I think that both Carter Knox and Flory Badunga are going to have the best motor. I think that those are two guys that they play so hard that they have that feeling of, if you're to stop me, you're going to have to kill me. That's the kind of effort that they give. So I think that people will really love Carter Knox. And then Alvaro Figueres, he was the go-to guy before he came over to Iowa at Robert Morris. And I think that people kind of have forgotten just how highly he was thought of. He was a top 10 transfer when he left Robert Morris last year, when he transferred to Iowa. Kentucky wanted him to come in and be a hub of their team last year. And I think because Iowa used him as a backup big man and kind of had him playing the 5, didn't really put the ball in his hands and allow him to create. I don't think that people are understanding what he can be in terms of a ball handler. He can do a lot of what Ali Khalifa did with his passing, but then you add to it the fact that he'll dunk on you. He can attack the basket. He can shoot the mid-range. He can step back and shoot the 3. He's a very talented player. I mean, Coach Kelsey has done a great job of putting together a lot of guys that have upward trajectory, Jay. So I think that Carter Knox is going to be better than what people think. I think Alvaro Figueres can do more than what people think. This is going to be a very entertaining team to watch.
With that, I'll see you later on. I'll give you the details about the fish fry and later this afternoon.
Cool. I appreciate it, Jay. Thanks so much. Go answer that phone. I appreciate it, Jay. Have a good one, brother.
All right.
There we go. One of the best to ever do it in the city. Jay Haas checking in this morning. Appreciate him. But yeah, hey, and everything that I say, I mean, y'all. Like, I really believe that Coach Kelsey, he said he wanted to find those guys that were kind of diamonds in the rough, and not that necessarily all these guys were diamonds in the rough, but he got a lot of guys that their trajectory as basketball players are up, or they're going up. They're getting better. They're improving. They haven't played their best basketball yet. And I think that is true. When I think about it, I feel like that's true for every player on the roster. I can't think of anybody who's a finished product. I think the guy who's closest to reaching his ceiling is probably Deshane Montgomery. Like, I feel like Deshane has almost topped out where he is as a player, even though I do think he probably has a little more to give. And hopefully in a Coach Kelsey system, he can show a little bit more of that. But I think that Deshane is probably the closest thing to a finished product. But other than him, I think Floyd Badunga, he's still growing. Like, people look at Floyd Badunga like he's like a senior transfer. Homeboy was a sophomore last year, y'all. Like, I understand that he was Big 12 Player of the Year. He was a third-team All-American last year, and is probably going to be a first-team All-American this year. But this is not a senior, a guy who's coming in as a senior. He's only going to be a junior next year. So Floyd still has a lot of growth potential. You're talking a guy who can potentially still play 3 years of college basketball. Same thing with Carter Knox. Carter Knox is only a sophomore last year. He's still got potentially 3 years in this new 5-for-5 era that we're living in. When you look at Jackson Shelstad was a junior, so he'll be a senior this year. But Jackson Shelstad missed almost all of last year. So he potentially has another red shirt. So he could potentially have 3 years left. Like, all of these guys are, have either shown to be really good players, have been really good players, but they have another level that they can get to. And they have not played their best basketball yet. So when you can find players that have tangible, provable, quantifiable stats and numbers to go along with upside potential, that's exciting. Alvaro Figueres. Now, I will say Alvaro's probably right up there with Deshane Montgomery, where I feel like he's closer to his ceiling. But I do think that there's probably a little bit more that Alvaro can give in the right system, playing with a better team. And I think that that's what you can see. A lot like Chucky Hepburn, right? Like, nobody expected or nobody knew that Chucky could do what Chucky could do. But I feel like Coach Kelsey looked at Chucky's tape, looked at his numbers, looked at his measurables, saw what he was as a player, and was like, you know what? If I get that dude out of that slow Wisconsin, slow down system, open it up for him, this kid can be a lot better and a lot more than what he's shown at Wisconsin. And I feel like that talent evaluation to see a kid is kind of like, in football, right? Where you have a player, Bilal Powell, perfect example. Bilal Powell was the guy who was playing defense for Louisville. He was on the defensive side of the ball. Charlie Strong comes in, looks at Bilal Powell's high school tape and was like, man, this dude was a generational looking running back coming out of high school. Let's go ahead and flip Bilal Powell from linebacker and stick that dude in the running back room. And let's see what he can do. And turn Bilal Powell into an NFL running back. Like, I feel like Pat Kelsey has that same eye to where he can see the skill set and he can see what guys do well and translate, that team is not taking full advantage of who that guy is and what he can do. And I feel like he will thrive in my system. Pat Kelsey is very good at that, y'all. And I think that this team is going to accentuate that to an even bigger level, because I think Alvaro Figueres and his skill set is much better in this system. I think Deshane Montgomery, same thing. Carter Knox, same thing. Floyd Badunga already is what he is, a rim running big man that goes really, really hard and can also protect the rim. He already is that. To me, for him, it's just about getting older, getting more consistent. I love the fact that he was able to show some ability to score on the block without a dunk. I love the fact that he was able to show off a left hand and right hand hook shot, which is not something that he's shown much at Kansas, that I think that as he continues to grow that part of his game can get even better. But that's what gets me so excited about this Louisville team, is that all of these guys' growth potential to get better and really fit what Coach Kelsey wants to do is super exciting. It's super exciting. Jay has getting me all excited talking about basketball this morning. I'm supposed to be talking about the NBA, and Jay's just got me going in full bore, on this Louisville basketball for next year. He loves the basketball, y'all. He can't get enough of it, and I can't blame him. I had so many other things that I want to talk about, but let's continue. We're going to get back to some of your texts and thoughts as well. 502-414-1450. That is the Game Day Men's Health text line. Would love to hear more from you. We got our text rolling in on YouTube as well as X. We have a YouTube comment. We got Sean checking in. Says, good morning, Wake Up 502. Main event. Happy 4th of July. That's funny, 4th of July. He says, will Michael Brown going to fall all over the floor in the NBA? Or is Michael Brown going to fall all over the floor in the NBA? I think that Michael did not get a friendly whistle. I know Michael hit the ground, but when he hit the ground, a lot of times he had reason to. He got pounded a lot. Like against Virginia, against Duke, against North Carolina, he was being aggressive, attacking the basket, was getting hammered. People are talking about the fact that, he came back from that back injury, and the officials did no justice, or they did not help Michael at all. You have a guy who's coming back after, a month layoff in December, into mid-January, coming off a back injury. And especially in that Duke game, but not only the Duke game, these teams were being extremely physical with him. Even when you talk about the SMU game, they were being extremely physical, knocking him to the floor. The officials did him no justice with the amount of physicality that they allowed with Michael. Like that game down there in Cameron Indoor, like he was getting pounded going to the basket. Malik Brown, Cam Boozer, Patrick Bunga, all those guys took turns just pounding Michael. So when you want to talk about being mad at somebody for the fact that Michael Brown Jr. Didn't really have his back all the way together and was feeling off, why don't you go ahead and give a secondary annoyance to the officials in the ACC? Because the amount of physicality they allowed teams to get away with Michael probably contributed a lot to those back injuries. So you ask if Michael's going to fall over the floor like in the NBA. I don't think so. And one of the main reasons why is Michael has quick twitch burst that's out of this world. But when you combine that burst with his size and just the spacing in the NBA, you can't crowd the paint in the NBA. And that's why I feel like Michael, along with a lot of these superstar freshmen from this past season, for as good as they were in college, I think a lot of these guys are going to be even more impactful in the NBA. And I think that Michael is definitely one of those guys. I don't think that Michael is going to be all over the floor in the NBA because I think he's going to be so quick. He's going to get to the rim. You're not going to be able to stop him from getting to the rim. And then when you back off of him, he's going to be able to knock down the J. So to answer your question, no, I don't think he's going to be all over the floor in the NBA. I think that the NBA game, the NBA spacing, the NBA rules are going to make Michael Brown Jr. even more effective. That's one of the things that I really saw when I was watching Ryan Conwell at the NBA Draft Combine. If you watched Ryan Conwell in the Combine in terms of the NBA spacing, Conwell was destroying those guys at the NBA Combine. I mean, he had 21 points, 5 of 8 from 3 in his featured game. And his ability to be kind of twitchy and quick with the ball in his hands, get by his man, the fact that you have to kind of sit on his left hand because he's such a good shooter that you have to stay pushed up on him, he gives 1 or 2 hesitation dribbles. Ryan Conwell, because of his physicality, he was able to get to the rim and finish, get by his guy at will. And just watching how dominant Ryan Conwell looked at the draft combine just makes me think, my goodness, when you get Michael Brown, they've said that Michael destroyed it in his workouts. You know, dealing with NBA rules and NBA spacing, he's going to be a guy that has Ja Morant level quickness to his game. Like, I don't think that is too much to say. Like, his quickness, man, even at the college level, he was able to use his quickness to get by guys and force, you know, a lot of contact at the rim that, you know, in ACC games, a lot of those calls didn't get made. But at the NBA level, that spacing is going to be better. He's going to have more space to operate. Guys aren't going to be able to get there in time. So I think we're going to see Michael toying with guys and defenders at the next level, a lot the same way that Ja Morant did. That's one of the reasons why I just don't understand the Keaton Wagler thing. Like, I understand that Keaton Wagler has the size, but picking Keaton Wagler over Michael, over Darius Acuff, or over Kingston Flemings, I just don't get it. I know that the kid was super efficient. He had like 3 or 4 40-point games for Illinois. And it's not to disparage that kid. I think that Keaton Wagler is a very good player, but he is a limited athlete. And when I see 6'6" point guard, good scorer, limited athlete, I'm going to tell you what it takes me back to. And it takes me back to, you know, kind of that D Wade versus, oh, goodness gracious. Reese Gaines. It takes me back to the D Wade versus Reese Gaines argument, right? And I thought that Reese Gaines was going to be the man at the NBA level. I thought that he was going to be better than D Wade. He was better than D Wade in college, so why wouldn't he be better than D Wade in the pros? D Wade is only about 6'2", you know, pushing 6'3", where Reese Gaines is 6'6", and he's, you know, getting buckets every game. He's putting up, you know, big numbers. And I think Keaton Wagler is the same thing, right? Like, I think that Keaton Wagler, a very reasonable comparison to Keaton Wagler is Reese Gaines. Both of them 6'6", both of them, you know, good, not great athletes that were very productive as college point guards. But when you get to the NBA, that quickness matters, right? That speed matters. That twitchiness matters. And Keaton Wagler, to me, just doesn't have that burst. I think they said at 6'6", he only had 4 dunks all season, 3 or 4 dunks all season for a guy who's 6'6". To me, that not that lack of burst, that lack of explosiveness, is going to get it's going to get exploited at the next level. I think that he's going to have an issue getting by his man, and I think at that at this level, at the NBA level, that's going to be a problem. We'll have to see. Like, we have plenty of time to adjudicate that and to figure that out. But I do like I was not. I like Keaton Wagler, but just even watching him and watching Illinois in the NCAA tournament, I just didn't see the burst and the quickness. And I think that's what separates Michael. That's what separates Darius Acuff, and to a lesser extent, Kingston Flemings. Kingston is not doesn't have as much of a burst. Kingston does it more with just having a kind of a quick handle and a nice kind of mid-range pull-up. I think that Acuff has a little bit more of a burst, but I think that Michael has the best burst of all of them. That's the crazy thing about Michael. Michael's the tallest. He's the second tallest. Keaton Wagler, of course, being 6'6", is the tallest. He's the second tallest. He probably has the best first step of all of them, with Darius Acuff kind of that close second. And Michael's the best shooter of all of them. So, like, Michael, to me, and they asked GMs of all these point guards who was the best, and the GMs, 4 of the GMs gave Michael the nod. No other one of the point guard prospects got more than 2 votes. And I think that's the reason why, is that Michael is the best combination of all those skills with great size. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's going to be a lot of fun. The NBA Summer League is going to be kind of your first opportunity to see these guys go and do what they do. So we'll just have to wait and see. But with that, let's go ahead. Let's take that last break. On the other side, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts. You can go ahead and start sending them in on YouTube. You can send them in 502-414-1450 on the Game Day Men's Health text line. I want to know Giannis to Miami Heat, giving up all the assets they did. Charlotte Hornets trading away Melo Ball for a bunch of guys, trading them to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Good deal, bad deal, yes or no? Do you like it? Did these teams get better? We're going to talk about that, and we're going to read some more of your texts. That and much, much more on the other side. This is Wake Up 502, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, and we'll be back on the Big X. And welcome back in. Welcome back in. Last segment of the show. Wake up 502, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, Big X Sports Radio. Raashaan Myers taking care of you this morning. Thanks so much to everybody checking in with me this morning. It's been going down here in the city. They always say the dog days of summer, but for me, I feel like this season just continues to just roll by, man. I can't believe it's already July 4th of July weekend upcoming next weekend. For me, I have like a 3-day work week next week, right? So I'm super excited about that. Another holiday, 4th of July. And once you hit 4th of July, y'all, NBA Summer League pretty much gets going and takes you all the way up to preseason NFL football. So for me, the dog days of summer. So when you look at it, that you really don't have your transfer portal. Now the transfer portal season is a thing, right? You are discussing transfer portal. You're discussing everything going on with these teams getting together and figuring out what teams are going to look like and what rosters are going to look like. That doesn't end until like the last week of May, the first week of June. So, once that's done and the rosters are set, pretty much the only dead period now is like this 4 weeks in June. It's pretty much the only kind of dead period you have, and it's even not even a dead period for that if you like baseball, which I'm just not I'm not a baseball guy, so that's just not my thing. But then, of course, you even had the Louisville Kings, right? Like you had spring football there, so you had the Louisville Kings, which took you even into June a little bit. Right? So, like, the dog days, quote unquote, of summer last like 2 weeks now. Like, we have something going on and we have something to talk about and discuss. Like, this summer alone and this spring and summer alone, we've had pretty much only 2 weeks where we didn't have stuff to talk about. And I think that's going to get even more truncated as, these foreign trips start to take more hold. I know that Jeff Walls and company, the ladies, will be going to the U.S. Virgin Islands to play in some games. Apparently, they were hoping to get Louisville down in the event in the Bahamas to go down there with a couple of teams, but they said that now that looks like that's not going to happen, at least unfortunately at this moment. I would love to see, U of L play against the Ville. The Ville's continuing to add players and add guys. I would love to see them go out there and play some exhibitions against the Ville. That would be fun, just to see those guys get out there as they get ready to prepare for the what do they call them? I don't know, whatever the Wildcat, the UK team is, as they get ready for their 3-game set with La Familia. We'll have to see if anything comes with that. I just would love to put eyes on this Louisville basketball program. But it feels like, I'm going to be honest with y'all, I feel like Pat Kelsey knows how good his team is this year. And it feels like he's kind of trying to slow play it and not let anybody see what he's got early. Because if he was worried about his team, or if he was worried about how good his team was being, getting them ready, I feel like he would be really trying to push getting these guys into one of these overseas trips and getting the team into one of these. But I feel like the confidence and the excitement level around what they've seen and what they have, I feel like they're not really pushing, saying, man, we need to get these guys together. I think that Coach Kelsey is very confident in what he has over there at Floyd Street, and he's trying to keep that under wraps as long as possible. Now, I could be completely wrong about that, and it could just be logistics, and I could be stupid, but if things did not work out with getting to the Bahamas, if Pat Kelsey wanted to get this Louisville team playing somewhere else and it was super, super important to make that happen, he would be, moving heaven and earth to get that done, because that's just who he is as a person and as a coach and as a, the lead, the head of the ship. So if he needed to get that done and needed to get somewhere, he would have gotten that done. So the fact that Louisville's like, nah, we're good, like, that gets me excited that he's saying, nah, we're good. Because I feel like he knows he's got something, and he really doesn't want to share that. There was a couple of other interesting things that came out of that press conference. I did talk about Bouyang Zhang and the fact that everybody who's talked about him has said big guy, physical guy, knockdown shooter, completely unconscious. If he gets the ball and he has any sort of space, he's putting it up and he's knocking it down. Like, they've been very complimentary of him. It's been interesting what they've said about Isaac Ellis. It felt like from the comments, I was listening to comments from Adrian Woolley yesterday. He feels like Isaac Ellis can play. Like, a lot of people have wondered if Isaac Ellis is going to be a guy who's going to play it all and if he can impact and if he can be a guy who can help out. I mean, from the sounds of what Adrian Woolley said, the sounds of what Pat Kelsey said, they say that, Ellis will come in, he'll take charges, he'll be a bulldog, he'll fight for the ball, he can knock down shots. It sounds like they expect that Isaac Ellis is going to be able to contribute this year. And if you can get contributions out of Isaac Ellis, who is, definitely the guy who's seen as the 11th guy on this roster, you've got a good roster. So if they think that he can really impact games this coming year, that's super, super exciting. It was brought up to us the fact that both Carter Knox and Obinna Ekezie are rehabbing injuries. So, we knew about Carter. We weren't really sure. We knew that Obinna hadn't been playing, but that we really, really weren't sure why. I think both guys, I want to say, were dealing with shoulder type situations, I think, for both of those guys. From what it sounds like, Carter Knox, Coach Kelsey said that he had hoped that Carter Knox would be ready to play by sometime this coming week. So by this coming week, he's hoping to get Carter Knox fully cleared. Carter said that he did meet with the media. He was talking alongside of Adrian Woolley, said that he's feeling good. He's about ready for full contact. So then we'll start to see Carter Knox get some of these videos out here that University of Louisville is putting out there of the basketball team. So we'll be excited to hear that. They said Obinna is he's a little bit more of a ways off, so I'm guessing sometime in July, maybe late July, that Obinna will be back and he'll be ready. He had to deal with shoulder surgery as well. So those two guys are taking it in. They're doing what they can, but they are not cleared for full practice. It sounds like once Carter Knox is ready, everybody else will be ready to roll except for Obinna, and he will join the team sometime in July as far as a full participant. So we'll keep an eye on that. The good news is that they did also, the media asked Jackson Shelstad about his injury, how he's feeling. Of course, his season was cut super short. I think he only played like 12 to 15 games in his junior season because of tearing ligaments in his hand as well as breaking his wrist. He said that he's 100%. He's felt good for about the last 2 months. So he said he's been fully cleared for about the last 2 months. So there are no lingering issues for Louisville's point guard. That is great, great news. Of all the people on this team and of all the talent, and as much as I've talked about guys who I think can be draft picks and guys who can be All-Americans, don't get it twisted. The most important player on this team is Jackson Shelstad. That young man has to be healthy. Definitely great comments over there about the team as a whole. Those were the comments that probably stood out to me the most. They talked about Alvaro Fulgaris and his ability to pass the ball and his ability to do a lot of things with the ball in his hands. That kind of stuck out to me. But that was pretty much from the comments that I heard that, I thought were most apropos. If you have not had the opportunity to check that out, go back to gocards.com. You can hear they interviewed, like I said, Coach Kelsey did about 30 minutes, and then they did about a 8 or 9 minute session with Carter Knox and Adrian Woolley, and then they also did another about 13 minutes with Flory Badunga and Jackson Shelstad. And Flory Badunga, by the way, is a funny dude. Like, he is very funny. He has a great personality. He's going to be a fan favorite just because he's going to be very demonstrative, great attitude about him, and he likes to make people laugh. So I did like the personality that he showed. I can't believe it may have been Kent Spencer was asking him if he enjoyed being to the Derby, and Flory looks at him and says, "Have you been to the Derby?" He says, if you haven't been to the Derby, man, you're missing out. And of course, Ken Spencer's a long time Louisville media guy, and everybody got a laugh out of that. So I just love the personality that Flory showed as well. So I loved it. Loved all the interactions. If you did not get to check those out, I am always one. You can always get snippets of comments from press conferences and media availability. But I always encourage folks, if you have the opportunity to, go back and listen to press conferences, y'all. Go back and listen to the long form responses, all the questions and answers from coaches and players in those sittings, because you get so much more context. Usually when you are just reading the comments either on Twitter or reading them in an article, you're only getting one or two comments from the coaches as part of an article. But there's a treasure trove of information that's gotten. So if you're a sports nut like me, you get a lot more out of it. So I just say all that to say, just definitely go back, listen to that audio. I mean, it's the middle of the summer. What else do you have to do rather than spend, a good 40 minutes listening about Louisville basketball? If you're a basketball head like me, that's big. So have a couple of other text messages I want to finish up and clean up before I get to my thoughts on the couple of big NBA trades. Texter says JQ needed. I don't know what that was. That was Sean. I'm not sure what JQ needed. JQ, I will say this about JQ. I love the fit for JQ going to San Antonio. The San Antonio Spurs killed it at the NBA draft. The only thing that the Spurs, their biggest weakness was the fact that they did not have enough ball handling, and as we discussed, that experiment with allowing Stephon Castle to be a point guard, in my personal opinion, is a failure. Stephon Castle is a great player, and he is a lot of things, but a point guard he is not. So the fact that they were able to go out there, pick up Jacoby Gillespie in the second round, I think Jacoby Gillespie is definitely a roster rotational level player. I think that he's going to be able to have a great opportunity to make that roster with the San Antonio Spurs. And I think that that's a nice option to have behind De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper. I think that he will show his ability to defend and his ability to knock down shots. I think that he's going to be able to make that San Antonio Spurs roster. So I like that as a pickup. But even more so than that, forget the ball handling. Spurs needed help on the interior. Spurs, for Luke Cornett, bless his heart, he's done a lot. He did a lot for the Spurs. He's a very good defensive player. He's very smart. But his limited athleticism and just the fact that teams picked on him in the minutes that Victor Wembanyama was on the bench, the Spurs needed to get bigger and more athletic in the paint. They did that as well as anybody in the draft. I love the Spurs draft, the fact that they pick up Jaden Quaintance at number 20. JQ, the best defensive prospect in the post in the draft, definitely dealing with the knee issue, is a guy that is probably not going to be healthy and be ready to go. From what it sounds like, he's going to need a revision surgery on that knee to clean it out, to get it ready. So JQ may not see the floor as a freshman, and if he does, it probably won't be until, February, March. They may just shut him down altogether. So you may not see him, but being able to pick that guy up to long-term match with Victor Wembanyama was excellent. I mean, 7'6" wingspan, explosive athlete, tenacious defender, unbelievable motor, fits perfectly as a complement to Victor Wembanyama. But then they back that up by trading back up into the first round, taking Terrace Reed, elite level big man down low in terms of being a two-way player, can score on the post, tough and physical defensively, big guy, can finish with the left and the right hand. He's going to give you much more offensive punch and offensive potential than anything that Luke Cornett or Jaden Quaintance even are going to give you offensively. Is a guy who is a plug-and-play guy that can come in and be a reserve backup center immediately in the NBA, in my opinion. And then they go out there in the second round and pick up Malik Brown, the defensive standout from Duke. Malik Brown can play both the center and the forward position, has great quickness, so he's able to defend on the perimeter as well as down low, and is just tenacious on the backboard and tenacious as a competitor. I felt like the Spurs did as good a job as any in filling their holes. That team has no weaknesses, y'all. They were young last year. They made it to the finals. They had double-figure leads in all 5 finals games, even though we, of course, know that the Knicks won the series in 5. But the Spurs did a great job of shoring up their deficiencies. And how quickly those guys get up to speed, and then how much that Victor Wembanyama and all those young Spurs just grow as a team. Man, the Spurs are going to be scary for years, especially if JQ can get healthy. Just wow. Just unbelievable. Texter also says, how about the player from UNC who stayed in the draft but fell to the bottom of the second round? Yeah, Henry Visar, the big man, 6'11", big man, transferred from Arizona, transferred to UNC. Definitely got some bad advice. Decided to keep his name in the draft. Malik Thomas is another guy who kept his name in the draft and unfortunately fell to the second round, going to the Cleveland Cavaliers at pick number 34. As Isaiah Evans, the superlative shooter from Duke, also dropping out of the first round. Those 3 guys could have definitely made more money had they stayed in college. They made they made the choice to stay in the draft and did not go into the second round. That's unfortunate for them. I think Isaiah Evans, he'll be fine. He's going to a good spot. I think that he'll be greatly utilized. I actually wanted to see him drop to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I felt like the Cavs were going to take him at number 34 if he made it to the 4th pick of the second round. Unfortunately, he gets picked just the selection before. It is what it is. They took Malik Thomas, instead. Malik Thomas was the highest rated player on the board heading into the second round. So not saying that the Cleveland Cavaliers made a bad selection, but the issue is the Cavs needed wing size. They needed size on the wing, a guy who could score and do some things. Evans at 6'7" was perfect for that in terms of being a knockdown shooter, being athletic, having good size at 6'7", where Malik Thomas, 6'3", long arms, but a little undersized. It's more of the same. It's kind of, your guy have another guy in that same size profile as a Donovan Mitchell, as a James Harden. The Cavs are going to have to do some things in this offseason if they want to do anything. They need to do everything they can. If it's true that the Boston Celtics are looking to possibly make a deal, Jaylen Brown for Evan Mobley, they need to move heaven and earth to make that happen. Is my personal opinion. We'll see what happens with that. Other than that, that's pretty much all the text for the day. I know somebody asked if there was any conversation about what exactly happened with KK, with Kenny Klein. Only thing they said was that he had a some sort of medical event and ended up going into the hospital, and then we know what happened from there. So no, that there hasn't been any specifics out there, but just once again, thoughts and prayers and love out to Kenny Klein and his family, and just really, really appreciate him. All right, man, my last thoughts on the trade before we get out of here. Time always flies, even when it's just me. People say that it's hard to talk on the radio by yourself. I don't know what the problem is. Like, I can get in here and talk to y'all forever, and then, when I have guys like Jay Haas call in and chat with me, I'm just fine with it. But, thoughts on the trade, Giannis trade, LaMelo Ball trade. My biggest question that I ask is, after the big trade, did you make yourself better? Is your team tangibly better? For the Miami Heat, I think they are slightly better than they were previous. But with the haul that they gave up to get Giannis over in that deal, the fact that they had to give up Tyler Hero, and the fact they had to give up Jaime Jaquez, all of the draft picks, they basically gave away all of their perimeter talent for the most part. They still have Davion Mitchell. They still have Norman Powell, even though Norman Powell is a free agent, so he can walk. And a lot of talk is that Norman Powell will make more than what the Miami Heat can afford. So Norman Powell is more than likely going to be gone as well. So I just question how much better the Miami Heat got, and they basically mortgaged their future for Giannis. So I think that, the good thing for the Miami Heat is that you'll be able to go out there and get some guards for pretty cheap that will want to play with Giannis. So I think that the Miami Heat did get better. Yes, I think the Miami Heat have been kind of in that play-in game range that, ninth, 10th, 7th, or 8th spots kind of over the last several years. So Giannis kind of kicks you up to where you can get to a 6 seed, a 5 seed, a 4 seed maybe, especially depending upon what they can do with the last of these roster spots. So I do think that they got better. So I would say it's a good trade, especially when you're looking to immediately win now. So I think that they did get better. I like the trade. I thought that the Bucks did get a great haul back for it. So I like it both. I felt like the Miami Heat trade was good for both franchises. I think both franchises are in a better spot now because of making that trade. So that's a win-win trade. I like that trade. The LaMelo Ball trade, I have no idea what the Minnesota Timberwolves are doing. They give away Julius Randle for free. Then they trade away their only other physical big man. I know they have Rudy Gobert at the 5, who is a big-time shot blocker. But in terms of their functional physicality, their tenaciousness, their guys that can put in there and mix up with the big physical teams in the Western Conference, giving away all those guys to get LaMelo Ball in, I just don't understand the fit. Like, to me, I think that the Timberwolves are worse now. The Timberwolves finished fifth seed, sixth seed last year. Last year in the NCAA or in the NBA Western Conference. I feel like they're going to be worse. I feel like they've moved from a 5 seed level team, a 4 or 5 seed level team, to like maybe a 7, 8 seed team. Like, they got worse. And I just don't know. LaMelo Ball's not a winning player. He doesn't play any defense. Anthony Edwards' defense is questionable. I just think that they got smaller. I don't really know what the point was, but I guess we'll see. But I thought that the Hornets made a smart choice. I love the fact they picked up Christian Anderson in the draft. So with that, thanks so much, everybody, for listening. Thanks so much for calling in, being a part of this. This is Wake Up 502. Raashaan Myers. We'll be back next week on Big X Sports Radio. Rest in peace. Love you guys.